beating the hell out of himself is Joe Biden, okay? And Joe Biden, I don't know, a couple weeks back, I showed you Joe Biden on some Islamic conference with Islamic relations or something. And as he was speaking to him, he said, you will have a voice in the White House. And in our schools, we need to preach more of your religion. This is what Joe Biden said to the Islamic community, okay, the Muslim community. We're not allowed to do the Pledge of Allegiance anymore because it says God in our public schools. But Joe Biden's already talking about how he's going to teach more Muslim in our schools. That's number one. So he's down with the Muslim crowd. Fine. Okay. Muslims in schools, good for Joe Biden. Catholic, Christian, God, no good. That's number one. Okay. And he's kind of taking aim at, Christianity in a number of different ways, but he comes out there as, good old Uncle Joe, which he ain't. He's a wolf in sheep's clothing, but he's a wolf that is at the end of his wolfness. You know what I'm saying? He's no longer, a full wolf. He's like a lone wolf now. Like, I don't know if you remember Lenny and Squiggy from Laverne and Shirley. When they broke up at one point, Lenny got a jacket that said Lone Wolf because they weren't no longer partners. Joe's kind of away from the wolf pack now. He's like a wandering wolf. So he's down with teaching more Muslim in our schools. Okay, let's pin that right there. If this was Pinterest, let's put a pin in that. Muslim in schools, okay? Now, a month ago, you may remember that he basically challenged the intellect of any person who was black and questioned if they're considering him or not. Here's what he said with Charlemagne the God, a.k.a. Lawrence McKelvey. I think he has some kind of conviction, Charlemagne, for alleged sexual assault or something. I don't know. But anyway, he did put Joe's feet to the fire here.
More questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It don't have nothing.
Let's toast to that one. I'm having strawberry daiquiris today, if anybody's interested. Nice, cool, refreshing drink. If you aren't sure if you're voting for me, you ain't black. So he's basically casting one big net over African-American community. I'm Joe Biden. We hate Trump. All blacks will vote for me. It's an edict. Okay, that's what he said right there. But anyway, now the other day, I believe he was taken to task by a guy who was an African-American guy on CBS and asked him if he would take the cognitive test that Trump took. And he started screaming at the guy and said, did they ask you to take a test? Did you take a drug test? Did you take a cocaine test? Are you a junkie? So he kind of bullied the guy back from asking him a question about, a simple test. And by the way, they keep saying this cognitive test that Trump supposedly took, they're saying it's so easy, it's like a kindergartner. I looked it up last night. You need two people. You need someone to administer it to you. But it's not like, it's not like your permit test. You know what I mean? Like, there's actually you got to have some connection to the universe of intelligence to get through the thing, okay? But now, as he already said, just basically, shoehorned a whole race, all African Americans. If you're not voting for me, you ain't black, okay? Now, the other day, as he's groveling to the Latin American community, the Latino community, in this big Latino event that he's trying to suck up to them for votes, he started talking about the difference between the Latino community and the African American community. Take a look at this.
And by the way, what you all know, but most people don't know, unlike the African-American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different things. You go to Florida, you find a very different attitude about immigration in certain places than you do when you're in Arizona. So it's a very different, a very diverse community.
So I just watched the clip, and
Joe Biden this morning totally disparaged and insulted the black community. What he said is incredible, and I don't know what's going on with him, but it was a very insulting statement he made.
So here he is, Joe Biden. He still hasn't removed foot from mouth from the appearance with Charlemagne the God. Okay, he still hasn't got over that yet, because a lot of people, and Charlemagne the God on the Breakfast Club even said, we have more questions for you, Joe. We need you back. So they didn't even accept it at that. So that foot is still like in the mouth, like this, okay? Then he comes out. If you didn't hear that properly, I hope you did, but he said, the difference between the African American community and the Latino community is there's a lot of diversity in the Latino community. There's a lot of different cultures, a lot of different types of people in the Latino. You might find some different cultural Latinos in Arizona than you would in Texas. And these Latinos, they have such panache to them. They're so diverse. Unlike the African American community that I, Joe Biden, just paint with one big stroke, one big broad stroke. You don't vote for me, or you ain't black. And all you people over here, African American folks, you have no diversity. You're all the same. And Joe Biden has said some crazy things that if I repeat even saying his words, I'll probably have the BLM out here in front of my house, so I'm not going to say it. But he said, black kids, poor black kids have the same right as white kids, way back on some educational thing he was talking about. And he's been brutal on the African American community. And if Donald Trump said 1/10 of the things he said, my God, there would be rioting at the White House. And there was yesterday, actually. Somebody got shot there or something. But now he's pandered to the Muslims. We're going to have Muslim in the schools. He's totally obliterated African Americans by saying you ain't black and this and that. Okay. Now, finally, yesterday he got to the Asian community. And I want you to hear what he said about Asians yesterday. This is shocking.
Now he's blaming everything on China. He's blaming everything on the Chinese. He's blaming everything, and people don't make a distinction, as you well know, from a South Korean and someone from Beijing. They make no distinction. It's Asia, and that's the way he's just using it as a wedge.
People don't make a distinction between you folks, all right? Yeah, you, the lady in the box next to me on Hollywood Squares. They don't make a distinction. Asians are Asians. It's, what's a South Korean or a Chinese or a Japanese? Well, yeah, people don't make distinguish between them folks. They're just all Asians. When I see all you Asians, it's like I see all you blacks. There's no diversity. It's all just one big Asian hunk of voters over there. Come on. I'm Uncle Joe. Nobody sees any distinguishing features amongst you people. It doesn't matter if you live in other countries or other provinces, or if you're Democratic or if you're communist. It doesn't matter. Filipino, Asian, it's like the old, all you people over there and you people over there. You know what I mean? So he's basically killing himself with all communities. And from what I hear, he's polling really poorly with the Latino community, who he was trying to kiss up to while he was destroying his African-American base. So, I don't know. A little fun stuff. I got some stuff on Nancy Pelosi, stuff on New Jersey. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with some more Liquid Lunch in just a moment. Stay right there.